www.DESIblitz.com.
I'm Alok. And I'm Melvin. We're the founders of Sultry Wine, and you're watching us on DESIblitz.com. We both gravitated towards the UK for our sabbaticals. We wanted to do our long overdue MBAs, and that's where we met. Graduated knowing we wanted to do something really different, something distinctive. Indian wine stood out as an opportunity where we could really make our mark, and here we are about 4 years down the line, doing fantastically well. I think the wine's been brilliant. Wine's produced in India, 4,500 miles away. And to top it all, we are trying to create a niche that doesn't yet exist.
The UK is one of the most important wine markets in the world. If you look at the biggest consumers of wine worldwide, I think the UK is number 3 or 4 in terms of volume. And in terms of per capita, it's probably one of the top 2 or 3. Historically has been one of the most influential wine markets. You know, one of the reasons why Sultry is in business, and the project is about plugging the Indian grape farmer into the global wine trade. And we thought that if we did the UK properly and we did it right, then that gives us a good platform to kind of take off and just grow from there.
The ambition for Sultry is not just to sell Sultry, not just to sell Indian wine, but to put Indian wine on the global map. The typical model for wine producers is to base yourself in the home, in the producing country. So typically we would have been based in Nasik, producing wine out of there. But we want to be close to the heart of the marketplace. India's been producing wine for 5,000 years, but wine was lost for a significant period in between. For about 150 years, there was no wine produced in India. So the modern Indian wine industry only restarted about 2 decades ago. The shift back into wine is taking time. It's slow, but with the strength of the Indian middle class, we have about 300 million middle class people, with about 300 odd million people who are below 25 years of age. The growth is rapid, so it has suddenly become something that is fashionable, that is in vogue, and people want to drink wine. They want to be seen to be drinking wine. France consumes about 57 liters per person per year. That's wine only. I think the equivalent number for the UK is about 9 liters per person per year. The equivalent number for India at the moment is 1 teaspoon. So that's how small it is, but that's how far it has to go.
This Cabernet Sauvignon is 2010, for example. That's about 2 years old. It's a young Cabernet. It comes from vineyards that are about 10 to 11 years old, and we produce the wines. Winemaking style is very new world. We do not use much oak. It's produced fresh, and it's designed to be drunk between now and the next 24 months. So it's that way. It's a young red. On the whites, we're working with Sauvignon Blanc. This is 2011.
One thing that characterizes wine drinkers as a whole, and especially wine drinkers in the UK, is that they're very adventurous, and they always want new wines. Very rarely you would find people drinking the same wine over and over again. So there's a place for new wines, for wine segments, for niches, and that's what we're aiming for. Is to create a fantastic niche for Indian wines. We want the wines to be accessible to as many wine drinkers as possible around the country. So you'll see an increasing footprint into the mainstream restaurants and hotels and pubs, and through 2013 also more and more into the retail sector. You have good Indian wines, you have some average Indian wines as well, just like you would have good wines from France and average wines from France, or good wines from South Africa and average wine from South Africa. But today Indian wines are already at a stage where they can compete with almost any wines around the world. That said, the essence of this is not about being better than others. I mean, it's not necessarily that at all, because it's a very, very subjective thing.
We do a lot of wine tastings with the trade and with consumers all over the country, and a lot of people ask us, how good is your Sauvignon? How is this better than New Zealand? Is it better than the French? And we're like, no, it's not a question of better. It's different. We're not here to say that we're better or someone else is worse. It is we want to. It's like asking someone, okay, here's a Rogan Josh and here's a Stroganoff, and which one do you like? So it's subjective. It's something very personal. What we want to do with our wines is to kind of make sure that we produce the wine as naturally as we possibly can, and let the wine kind of express the region. We have these three at the moment. We've had another white that we've kind of discontinued now. It's a Chenin Blanc that we've taken off. We used to work with a full-bodied sort of red Zinfandel. So we're only making a rosé right now out of the Zinfandel, but we used to make a full-bodied red as well.
2013, hopefully, fingers crossed, the end of the year might also see a sparkling come on the scene.
Yeah.
So we'll be looking at kind of growing the portfolio, or adjusting and changing, chopping and changing all the time, depending on what we see working best, or what works best with the consumer.